Marhaban. Hello. My name is Ian Campbell. This is the 15th in a series of videos intended to teach you the Arabic alphabet and sound system and to prepare you to understand how to learn vocabulary words. In this lesson, we're going to finish up all the characters by learning 4 non-alphabetic characters. And then I'm going to give you the Hamza spelling rules so that you can refer to them after you develop more skills. So let's take a look at this right away. We're going to learn these characters, Tanween ad-Damm and Tanween al-Kasr. So Tanween comes from putting an N on something, the letter Noon. Tanween means N-ing it, literally. And then Dhamma and Kasra are short vowel friends. So Tanween ad-Damm looks like this. He's really 2 Dhammas put together. And he has this kind of funny shape like this. And he is pronounced Un. It's a double Dhamma, but remember, Tanween ad-Damm means putting an N on the Dhamma. So he is pronounced Un. And Tanween al-Kasr looks like 2 Kasras put together, just 2 Kasras like this, and he's pronounced In. So we don't write the N letter, but we pronounce it here. And these are grammatical characters that don't have a tremendous amount of relevance in modern Arabic. Nevertheless, they're kind of important to learn, and for completeness' sake, I'm going to teach them to you. So Arabic has this thing called case. And case means what the grammatical role of a noun or adjective is in a sentence. Is it the subject of the sentence? Is it the object of a verb? Does it come after a preposition? Does it belong to another noun? In English, we only do this with pronouns. So I is the subject of the sentence, me is the object of the verb, he is a subject, him is the object, and so forth. So pronouns change based on what they're doing in a sentence, but regular words don't. And far back in history in classical Arabic, words were marked this way so that you could mess up the word order of a sentence so that you could write better poetry. That's really the reason for it. Lots of other languages have case. German has 3 cases. Russian has about 7. Latin has 6 or 7, I'm not sure. And so what these markings do is tell us what the case of a noun is. This is not something you have to know to be able to do basic standard Arabic well. This is here for completeness' sake. So if I take the word beit, a house, and I put tanween ad-damm after it, I get beitun. Beitun. Now, no one says this in everyday speech. The only time anyone would ever say this is if they're reciting a religious text or pretending to be really pompous on purpose, or reciting poetry. So all I want you to be able to do is to recognize this character. He can only go on an indefinite noun, and he basically means he's the subject of the sentence. Sometimes you'll see the same word, but it will have a different ending. So we can say, for example, beitin. And here the house is being owned by another man or another person, or it is coming after a preposition. None of this is really very important to you as a very, very beginner Arabic student. I just want you to know that these things are there. If I take a word like ghorfa, that ends in ta marbuta. Ghorfa means room, like the room in a house. So it ends in ta marbuta. So remember that ta marbuta really means tied up ta. And so when we have ghorfa and we put one of these endings on them, we will hear the ta in ta marbuta. Ghorfatun. So you hear the ta here. Normally you just say ghorfa, a room, but ghorfatun if we're being super pretentious or reciting poetry or a religious text. Same goes with ghorfatin, for example. So these are just endings I want you to recognize. The next ending is a little bit more important, and tanween al-fath just means double fatha, and he looks like this, and he's pronounced N. But for reasons that are obscure even to me, he's often followed by a silent alif. Unless the word ends with alif hamza or ta marbuta, we have to add an extra alif. I usually say Tanween al-Fath has a bad knee and he needs a cane or a staff to lean on. So when we see bait, for example, we will have now an extra alif added to the word. So this is something you will actually see a lot in modern printed Arabic. This indicates that he's the object of a verb, like I saw a house, for example. And what people will do is they'll write the extra alif, but they won't typically write, because people don't typically write short vowels, they won't typically write the tanween al-fath on it. So this is kind of a long-winded way to get you to see that if you have a noun that you know and it has an extra alif on it, don't really worry about it. That's unpronounced. It's just the staff for the tanween al-fath, and it indicates that this is the object of a verb. It actually comes in handy later on as you learn to read more complicated texts. My point is, sometimes you will see a word you know with an extra alif stuck on it, and that's what's going on here. So ghurfa, for example, because it ends in ta marbuta, it doesn't get this extra alif. It just stays written the way it is. And then if you were going to pronounce it with full pronunciation, you'd say ghurfatan, a room again, but a room as the object of a verb, like I cleaned a room or I saw a room. So these characters here are not at all super important for learning basic modern standard Arabic, especially at first. But for completeness' sake, with the alphabet, I want you to know that they're there sometimes. Another time that you'll have tanween al-fath come in handy is taking an adjective and turning it into an adverb. So an adjective describes a noun, an adverb modifies an adjective or a verb. It tells you how you're doing something. So the word Sa'id, for example, means happy. So you could have a rajul Sa'id, a happy man, bint Sa'ida, a happy girl. However, if you add tanween al-fath onto it and its extra alif, this is the equivalent of English ly at the end of a word. He did it happily. And so you'll see a lot of adjectives that will have an extra alif. And remember, we don't usually see the tanween al-fath being written. We usually just see the extra alif. So this is an example of an adjective being turned into an adverb, and is something you'll see quite often. So when you see an extra alif, don't panic. It's a word you know that's had an extra bell and whistle grammatical ending stuck on it. So then we'll turn to, excuse me, that was the wrong one. We will turn to alif maqsura. Alif maqsura means shortened alif, and it's an alif in the form of a dotless letter ya. And it can only be the last letter in a word, like ta marbuta. So it looks just like a dotless letter ya, shouldn't present you a problem there. However, you'll see it a lot at the ends of words. So I've written a couple of examples down here. Al-mustashfa is this word. So here's your meme. Notice that you write meme like this after lem in alif lem. So al-mustashfa. So this is an alif in disguise. He looks like a ya, but he's not. He's an alif. And he can only be the last letter in a word. Not tremendously common, but you will see it quite a bit, more so than you'll see these endings up here. So mustashfa means hospital. I tell people it's where you go to get your mustache fixed. Mustawa means level, not level in the sense of not tilted, but the like levels of achievement, for example. So because alif maksura can only be the last letter in a word, if you put a suffix on it, you have to change it back to regular alif. So your level is mustawak, and my level is mustawai. So this is something, and here's ya with the dots, because here's the e ending for my something. So alif maksura will change form back to regular alif, just like ta marbuta will change form back to regular ta if you add a suffix onto it. Okay, so congratulations. That's all the characters you need to learn to do the whole alphabet and sound system in modern standard Arabic. The next 4 or 5 lessons will take up numbers and telling time and counting and days of the week and a few other things that will come in handy before you really start getting into the nitty-gritty about how to put words together and make phrases and sentences properly. But before I do that, I want to talk about the Hamza. So Hamza can be spelled in many different ways. It wants to sit on different chairs. I've brought this up before. And this is like the tanween al-fath and the extra alif. This is a spelling hangover from Quranic days. So where Hamza really wants to sit is on a dotless letter ya. At the end of a word, he's going to sit on the ya's tail, and in the middle of a word, you won't ever really see it at the beginning of a word, it will sit on the tooth of the dotless letter ya. So the key feature from your perspective is that this isn't a ya. It's a dotless letter ya that's the kursi, or chair, for the hamza. So hamza ala kursi ya. Hamza on the ya chair is what you're saying here. He really wants to sit on this chair. This is his favorite chair. I'm not sure why, but it is. So if I give you a few examples of words here, sayyi means bad. So sayyi, the ya here is a consonant, and you know this because it has shadda on top of it, and then kasra beneath the shadda instead of beneath the word like you think it ought to be. So sayyi. Sayyi means bad, and since we're going to learn opposites with adjectives, we're going to learn that jayyid is good. It looks like jeed, but it's not. It's jayyid. Jayyid means good. So learn these words together, just like Elmo tells you back in Sesame Street. Learn the opposites of adjectives. It's easier that way. The word for questions, the plural, is as'ila. And here Hamza gets to sit on the dotless letter ya because there's a kasra right after him. Over here the kasra is before him. Here the kasra is after him. So as'ila. And that's what enables him to sit on his favorite chair because there's a kasra right nearby. And here's Hamza at the beginning of the word as well. As'ila. When we have words that begin with vowel sounds in Arabic, we need to mark them with Hamza, which we don't in English. A qari, which I actually forgot to draw the Hamza, afwan. A qari is a reader, like somebody doing the reading. So qaf ra Hamza is the root for to read, like the Quran. So a qari is a reader. They're not necessarily reading the Quran. They could be reading something else, just reader in general. However, if it's a woman or girl doing the reading, then she becomes a qari'ah. Like this, really. The kasra would really better go over here. So a qari'ah is a girl reader. A qari' is a boy reader. All nouns and adjectives in Arabic are gendered, and I will talk about this in great exhausting detail later on. If Hamza is not permitted to sit on the ya, because there's no kasra or long vowel ya on either side of him, his second favorite chair is the waw. And again, this isn't really a waw in terms of it making a sound. It's just the chair for the hamza. So if it comes after another letter, and of course waw is a non-connecting letter, even if it's only being used as a chair, so you're not going to connect to the next word. So here's a few examples here. As-su'al is a question. So al-as'ila, if I wanted to put alif lam before it, I'd have to change this alif into the lam alif character. In fact, I'll draw it over here. So if I wanted to make it al-as'ila, I'd have to make it this way. I shouldn't have crossed there. That was very sloppy. Pardon me. So we'll put the hamza up here and then make the rest of as'ila. That was a terrible tamabulta, pardon me. So we'll do it this way if we're going to put alif lam on the word. Words that begin with alif hamza, when we put alif lam on them, they change back to the alif and then lam alif character like this. So watch out for that one. So su'al means question. When we put alif lam on it, we don't say al-su'al, we say as-su'al because it's just a tiny bit easier. Since we're going to learn question, let's be Elmo and learn answer as well. So al-jawab is the answer. And we do hear the lam in alif lam because jim is pronounced near the back of your mouth. So as-su'al, al-jawab. And then al-mas'uliya means responsibility. Literally, you've been asked the question. So we have sukun here, and then hamza, and then a long vowel wow, and it's the long vowel wow that enables Hamza to sit on his second favorite chair, the hamza. So these spelling rules with Hamza are not the most important thing about really basic Arabic, but a lot of students end up in second year Arabic not really knowing them. So I'm going to give them to you here so you can use them as a reference later on. I wouldn't expect you to know them right away. Learn the letters and their sounds first and figure this stuff out later. If if Hamza cannot sit on the ya, the dotless ya, or the waw, he wants to sit on top of the alif, or sometimes at the beginning of the word underneath the alif if the word begins with the kasra sound. So that's his third favorite chair, and you can see why. It's very skinny and pointy and uncomfortable, why he wouldn't want to sit on that. So the plural of jawab for answer is ajwiba. So here's a word that starts with alif b hamza. You've seen many words like this already, so it shouldn't be unfamiliar to you. The mas'ala, the thing that the question is being asked about, is the issue, the matter, the topic. So here we have seen with a sukun and then only a fathah sound on the other side of the alif, or the other side of the hamza rather, which means that we have to put the hamza atop the alif. Mas'ala. And then sa'altu is I asked a question, not I asked for something. And here we have fathas on either side of it, and that enables it to sit on the alif as well. And then naqra, here's the qara'a root again. So naqra is we read, or we are reading. And here there's only a fathah before the hamza, so he has to sit on the alif and feels uncomfortable instead of sitting on the dotless ya or the waw. And then lastly, hamza has to sit on the line if there's an alif before it and only a consonant, including waw or ya, used as a consonant, a w or a ya, after it, or ta marbuta after it, then he usually has to sit on the line. And when he has to sit on the line, he usually gets to be a little bit bigger, like this. He's very small when he's atop the dotless ya, or the waw, or the alif, or beneath the alif. He's a little bigger when he gets to sit on the line by himself. So, for example, there's not that many examples of this except words that end with alif hamza, which is very, very common. And so al-masa means the evening or the late afternoon. We wouldn't hear the hamza unless we have another word after it. So let's say happy afternoon. Al-masa as-sayyida. And I'll just stop talking there for an instant in between the two words. Al-masa as-sayyida. I mispronounced it, excuse me. So al-qira'a is the act of reading, and because there's only an alif before him and a ta marbulta after him, he has to sit on the line like this, and he would prefer not to sit on the line even though he's actually bigger, so you'd think that would make him happier. But anyway, congratulations, mabruk alaikum, congratulations to you. These are the last characters you learn to get the whole system of alphabetic characters. And from there, we're going to build words, and then we're going to put words and phrases and sentences, and it's all a little bit strange from an English speaker's perspective, but it's actually pretty easy to learn. So with that, I'm going to say, ma salama.